Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 24, 2024 Liberty Road Committees, Gateway Committees meeting. My name is Ngone Job. For those of you who don't know me, I used to be the area planner for Renderstown, and I'm now the division chief for community planning, Baltimore County Department of Planning. It is so nice to see so many of you tonight. I see, couple of familiar faces, and I'm excited to be here. So before we start the meeting, um, I want to see if there was any items that you would like to add to the agenda. It was, emailed in advance. So I just wanted to make sure before we follow the agenda, are there any items that you would like to add to the agenda? Okay, good. Hi, Linda.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Very good. So what about we start with introduction of the new area planner. Her name is Yolanda Gregory. So I just want to give her an opportunity to include herself, to introduce herself.
Right. Hello, everyone. I'm Yolanda Gregory. I'm the new District 4 planner for the Department of Planning. I have been here now. I think I would say it's going on 3 weeks, so I'm settling in pretty nicely and I'm getting acclimated with everyone that I'll be pretty much working with and collaborating with. So I'm pretty excited to be here and look forward to collaboration and getting things done.
We are excited to have her join the Department of Planning's team. All right, so the first item on the agenda, some of the project updates. One of them include the community signage, center directional signage. This was a project that Daphne, before she left, started. I remember Sheila suggested adding extra signage on Liberty Road, just to make it easier for visitors to locate the community center. So she started a service request to the state before she left. Unfortunately, that request was denied by SHA, and they said that there are already too many signage going on Liberty Road, and they were not recommending to add another one. So we tried to find a compromise, and we propose, why don't we actually, let me see if I can share my screen so you know what I'm talking about. There is already a YMCA signage on Liberty Road right before you get to the community center. And we were wondering, why can't we, for example, add another signage on top of the community, the YMCA, just to indicate that the community center turn is coming up. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Share. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so are you familiar with this signage that I'm talking about? I guess it's in wood. It's the wood signage, the YMCA. We were thinking about maybe adding another, community center with the direction on top of that. What do you think?
I have never seen that sign.
It's there. I mean, we
Wait,
were
wait
there
a minute. I'm not
yesterday.
doubting. I'm not doubting it's there. You have a
Mm-hmm.
picture of it, it's there. I'm saying I've never seen it. The what I had I'm not sure about um SHA because what I was thinking when I was saying about the Randallstown Community Center sign was the way the sign is, people don't see it until they're almost up on it, and particularly people who come to attend events that's there. And it couldn't that sign that's there be enlarged and enhanced without having to go to SHA to say, hey, can we put another sign here? I mean that sign is there. Couldn't that be enlarged or enhanced in some way that people can see it? Because people get up onto the sign and they don't realize it's there.
And you are referencing to this signage right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because this one is at the corner, Liberty
Mhm.
Road and Resource Drive.
Right. So I mean, I don't know why we have to go back to SHA to say we're going to replace this sign with a larger sign that people can see. Whether we're talking about making it higher so that people can see it coming as they're coming up the road or down the road, they can see it because it'll have higher height or wider or something like that, or maybe to illuminate it in such a way. And I don't know why we have to go to SHA to say we're going to make that sign bigger.
Well, I don't think my understanding, but also the understanding of the previous planner was that the committee was talking about adding an extra signage on Liberty Road
Mhm.
and not trying to improve the existing signage that is here right now.
Right.
That was my understanding, and that's what.
Yeah, that was the understanding when I actually reached out to SHA, that the reasoning why is because it was brought to them that another sign wanted to be added.
We
So
wanted
then
what
we proposed, now that I know that you're saying, why not, we don't need to add another sign, let's enhance what's already there,
yes.
then that's something different.
Right, and this is what we originally said. When we talked about it in the meeting, we like, people get up on the sign and they don't see it, and it's so small. We like, can't we make it bigger?
Okay, so that makes sense, and I think now that we understand better what your request was, we have to go back. I'm not sure that this one will be SHA just because it's outside of the right of way. I think we have to deal with DPWT, property management. I know the county council had some involvement with this existing signage right here.
Right.
So now that it all makes sense, we're gonna update you on next steps and what we, the plans that we have to enhance this one.
Right, because if you look, even if you're looking at this sign, then you see the street sign, and you know that even though it's not super big, you see the street sign, the height, the lettering in relationship to this sign.
Mm-hmm.
And coming up and down Liberty Road, particularly if there's meetings for people who like maybe come from in the region but just not familiar, that's it. And like, it's like if this was, taller, wider, some way so that people will say, okay, that's where it is.
Like it used to be years ago.
I don't
Yeah,
remember.
and
I don't remember years ago, but I'm just saying it should be bigger, higher, taller.
okay.
People can see it.
All right, well, let us take your request back, and modify that request because that's not what was our understanding. And I think this one should be simpler because we don't have to deal with SHA or the
Right.
state.
Exactly.
Because we know it's how complex it is to just try to get any type of permitting or with SHA. Okay, good. So the next item, and I see Amy Menzer from our office has joined us. Hi, Amy. Hi, Marilyn. Hi, Shirley.
Hi,
So
how are
good to
you
see
today?
you all. Okay, so next item is the street trees planting. So this was also another project that Daphne had started. And I know she was coordinating with the Department of Environment Protection and Sustainability for some type of street tree planting along Liberty Road. So we received updates that there are plans to plant trees in the Milford Villanova neighborhood and in the Liberty Crest neighborhood this spring. I know the group had identified some locations along Liberty Road for additional trees. And I think I have the map that I can share with you all just to see if this, if you recall this project. Let me check on that. Anyone from Villanova, have you been contacted by EPS for street plantings this spring?
Yes, we have. And they were supposed to be coming through. They said they'll be through sometime this spring to do Villanova, and I referred them to Milford so that they can do the trees in Milford. But I had also sent Daphne some pictures of areas on Liberty Road for tree planting. I think it was like between Latham and Buckingham. There's a area there um, that it has the Milford sign, so I'm assuming it's county property.
Mm-hmm.
So for trees be planted there. And also, I think across the street from that is an industrial park as a site. And I also gave her some sites further down Liberty Road, close, I think it's below St. Luke's Lane, near the Woodlawn Cemetery, as areas that could be enhanced with tree plantings. Because they weren't on private property. I think it's like that burn or something. It's like, there were places that could be enhanced with tree plantings.
Okay, and are those different from what I'm showing on the screen right now?
Um,
I mean, I
right,
see.
you're at Northwest Hospital, so.
I don't know what I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I don't know. I can try to scroll
I
through the
can,
screen, but I see
if you see Milford, where you got, where you have Milford Mill.
I see
think-
6,000 block of Liberty Road all the way to 9,000 block of Liberty Road.
Yeah, I do see St. Luke's, what you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so.
So if it's these
Those,
locations,
are those yellow marks where you're talking about, where they're
Uh-huh.
planting for trees?
But
Those yellows? Okay.
yeah, the
If you go below,
potential,
then you have to go inside the Beltway.
inside the Beltway right here.
Uh-huh. Okay, yeah, okay, there you go. Right.
Mhm.
If you can make that a little bit larger, right here. Yeah, okay, so you have, okay, okay, so this is Lockern and
St. Luke's,
St. Luke's.
Mhm.
Okay, can you keep
Essex.
going? Okay, now right here, right there, what's that, 7,000 block of Liberty? So they're talking about put a tree at Essex and Liberty, and I had recommended going further up too. Can you go up? Okay. Okay, right in through there. Right, this is one place I recommended having a tree. Right,
Okay.
I see a tree.
So it looks like we captured all of your recommendations on this map, and we do also have more outside of the Beltway. And we shared this list with EPS, asking if they could add these locations in addition to the plans that they have for the Milford, Villanova, and
And Milford.
the Liberty Crest neighborhood. So we are awaiting their response to see if they have the capacity to add these locations, but this was also shared with them.
Okay, so when those marks, I see they represent, like, they're at specific addresses. So when they come and do their assessments, are they only going to put one tree at that location, or are they going to realize that's a location that has potential for like 3 or 4 trees?
I don't know what their plans are or how many trees they're gonna put in there, but I'm sure they're gonna seek community input before they do so. And I'll make sure that they also coordinate with you and the committee.
Because I remember when they came in and put some trees on residential property 2 years ago in Villanova. When they came to an address, um, if they would give you as many trees as could fit, if that's what you wanted. Because I got 3 trees on my property. So they would ask, but I don't know if, because we're talking about along the road, do they do the same thing? Does that represent I'm only putting 1 tree, or I'm going to that property and put as many trees as will fit?
All right, I'll make sure that we share your concerns with EPS and coordinate with you if there is a capacity to add those to the street tree plantings in the spring. Okay, next item on the agenda, or like as part of the updates, include the litter reduction initiative. Somebody said something? So again, another project that Daphne started, and before she left, she convened, meetings with other agencies just to discuss how would be the best strategy approach to coordinate all the various anti-litter program that we have in the county. We know that litter is a priority, is a number 1 issue in the community, and we do have a lot of programs in different agencies. So how can we just bring everything together and have a better coordination that business owners, but also the resident could take advantage of that? So Yolanda will be following up on this particular initiative. And we already have meetings set up for next week with the agencies to see what would be the next steps. So we'll keep you posted on what's next step will be.
Can I have a comment about that?
Yes.
When we talk about businesses, the code enforcement appears to be reluctant to write violations up for businesses that allow trash and litter to accumulate on their property and to pick it up and control it. And I know this is not a problem. This is not only a problem that we're having, because I've heard from other communities, for example, in Pikesville, have the same thing, is that they turn in a business location for an obvious violation that if it was on private property, it would be no problem. They would receive a citation. But for some reason, code enforcement doesn't have that same, I don't know, they don't have that same interest, or I don't know, will to do those enforcements on businesses. I mean, we've had the same problem with the Woodmore Shopping Center. We had to do it over and over again for them to issue a citation for something. If we said this was a private residence, they would issue a citation. And I mean, if y'all going to have a meeting, that is one of our issues, one of our concerns. When we turn on these locations that are on businesses, there's nothing. The entrance to the Walmart Center on off of Liberty Road, that little strip, it gets litter, it's a mess. You turn it in, nothing happens. We've had a problem with a car dealership on Liberty Road. We have to do it over and over again. The Woodmore Shopping Center, over and over again. Code enforcement does not go after these businesses based on what the law says. And it's a real problem, because a lot of this, the trash that blows in and sits there, and then it'll blow on, they never go clean it up. And code enforcement doesn't enforce that policy for those businesses.
And and if I hear you well, you did say that they were filed, like community filed the code violations, but there were no follow-up.
They will file one. You can put in a request and you'll get a bounce back. It's like it's no, or nothing was observed. And you're sitting there looking at a horrendous litter. You're looking at grass that's 3 and almost 4 feet tall, and you see all the paper and trash that's accumulated in these little strips with the tall grass, and you get a bounce back. Nothing's done. Nothing's done. Nothing's done. And it'll be. I mean, it takes like 2 or 3 weeks, and in order for us to get anything done for Woodmore Shopping Center, I mean, we had to go up 3 or 4 chain people up, wind up talking to Adam Whitlock and all that kind of stuff. And it shouldn't have to happen. You should be able just to put in citation. They should be out there to their business, and it should be cleaned up. And I don't understand why they don't have that appetite for going after businesses. It's the same way when behind the Harbor Bank and the Checkers, there's a church. And along that strip, it looks horrible. The grass is real tall. It just collects litter. You ask code enforcement, would you please issue citation? Nothing happens.
Okay. I hear you, and I'll send an email just to see what's going on. Do you have like a recent example, or like a recent, I don't know, site that was filed for violation, but then you can still like maybe have proof to pictures that nothing was done, but then it was closed, something, like an example that I can use when I send the email?
I'm talking about experiences that I've had. My latest experience I had was for a location on Liberty Road, and it kept bouncing back. And finally, I went to the councilman's office, and we sent a picture, and it went to Adam Whitlock, and only by him, like, okay, you're right. And then something happened, and that was like over a 8-week period. I mean, that's the extent to what we have to do to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can give you some locations. I'm not going to say it's current, but I can get some locations. I'll put them in and I'll let you know what's going on. But if you're going to have a meeting, this is a residential concern. Our concern is that when we put in requests for code enforcement to have business properties to clean up with long grass or trash, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. No, thanks. Thanks for bringing it up. We'll follow up. We'll send email, and see what.
I will send you some information so you can look at some specific addresses and see this long record that we have for specific addresses. But the issue is their apparent practice is we're not going to write citations for these businesses the same way that we would do for a residential area.
Mm-hmm.
And it leaves our business areas looking bad. It leaves the Woodmore Shopping Center looking bad. Family Dollar has a record, and we have been trying to work with them for years through code enforcement. Code enforcement will not write citations on them, give them the big fines, set them up for a hearing with the same appetite that they would go after a private residential area. For what reason, we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sheila, years ago, LRCC got together with the community and we came down on Family Dollar, and they were and we met with code enforcement, and code enforcement issued a fine of over $22,000, and they cleaned it up. It's an ongoing thing. Then they stay good for a while, and then they're back in their old practices. And it seems to me that that's the kind of thing you have to do over and over again. I understand it's aggravating and we shouldn't have to, but we do. I will say this. We've had a code enforcement officer on Liberty Road for a while, Ryan, and he is no longer in this area. We have a new code enforcement officer in this area. And I have already issued several complaints to him and know that he has put fines of, like, on the corner right next to where Shoppers used to be, the place next door where they had all these places that were doing food, and they have all this wood piled up, and they're cooking there and they're fixing cars there. He just wrote them a fine of over $10,000 on each one of those things that cause problems, and he's coming back and working on that. And there are several others like that. So I understand your frustration, and I've had the same thing, but it is something that we're going to have to keep working on over and over. And I think your idea of having a meeting with code enforcement and voicing our opinion and our concerns is a good idea.
All right, that's good. I think it's very important to to get those feedback and know what's going on in the community, especially that we are in this entirely the initiative. So while we clean, we don't want others to keep making it dirty, right?
Mhm.
So also as part of the initiative, there was an opportunity to hang a anti-litter banner on the facade of the Randallstown Library for like 3 months or so. So that's also part of this initiative, and we're just trying to see how can we do something comprehensive, that will run along with maybe when we have the facade improvement that were awarded to us by the state. When we start implementing that, how can we also have this initiative going on at the same time? Yes, Linda?
Well, first of all, if we're able to get some action by going to an upper level person, then why continue complaining about it? Just go to the upper level person every time until that person says, stop coming to me because I've assigned this person. Why create a problem? Just go to that person every time. The other thing is that this really does go back to sort of what Shirley was bringing about someone who used to have the job, left the job. I have for the last 2 or 3 years been asking Baltimore County Schools to turn into a completer program for this area code enforcement inspectors. These are really good lifetime long jobs that people who are not necessarily interested in going to a four-year college can be trained for. You need to take the people who, as she said, some of the people who are currently working are in their 60s and 70s and well past retirement age. They need to be used to train these young folks how to do the job they've been doing for decades so they can go ahead and retire. But we can't let them retire until we get a new crop of young people who want to have a good, sturdy job, steady job for a lifetime with benefits. And we should be putting the pressure as a group, because we know this is an issue, not just for our area, but all over Baltimore County, but particularly for our area. Let's go ahead and put the pressure on the school system to go ahead and before next September, get a couple of these people who may have just recently retired to be brought on as adjunct faculty to add to creating a code enforcement program. We're supposed to be training our young people for jobs of the future. Guess what? This is one of those jobs that AI can never replace. This is one of those jobs where you have to show up in person and you will not be replaced by computers. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's make our group useful in more than just talking about our own issues in our own neighborhood. And so that was just, you know, one of the things I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you for your input. So, as you know, we were awarded $430,000 state money for facade improvement along Liberty Road. So we have signed a grant agreement, and I think we are in the process of just finalizing the details and, you know, see how next steps will look like and how we're gonna structure implementation and so on. So in addition to that, the county executive has also requested, you know, in the budget, in the FY25 budget, $500,000 for facade improvement projects also along Liberty Road. So it's a request in the budget, and I believe the vote is May 23rd, I want to say. Let me double check on that. Yeah, so the final vote is scheduled for May 23rd, and we would appreciate if you could talk to your councilman, you know, to support that request, just to make sure that it gets finalized and it gets voted. So it's great news for Liberty Road.
What happened? I'm sorry, Gone. What happened to the initiatives and proposals we had from the shopping center task force? And we had proposed lots of facade improvements, the iteration of this committee before this one was created. What happened to some of those proposals, and when are we going to, some of them were on the shoulders of business owners, but others were closer to the street and on the street. What happened to some of those proposals for planters and trees and other kinds of things? And also, I still think that it would be a good idea to have a marquee at the library, and that the librarians be in charge of it at that corner, that critical intersection.
I don't know if I'm aware of the task force you're talking about, the shopping center task force. I mean,
Sure, the ones that we did for commercial properties. You said there were 9 commercial properties. That's how I first met you.
so those,
Design
that
guidelines.
was for the design guidelines. So
Right. I mean, we shouldn't have to start from scratch every time. Those were really good ideas that we were working on for months.
so those have been adopted, and the developers are actually using those guidelines every time that they redevelop or you know, there is a new development. That's the only way that they that it applies. So with the facade improvement grant, if they are proposal to, you know, improve facades, they're gonna have to go to the design guidelines if it's located in those 9 shopping centers that you mentioned.
Right, but some of them were actually not in the shopping center per se. For example, the sidewalk that's in front of the Randallstown Library is not in the shopping center, but we were still proposing different types of hedges and planters and trees and things like that. That's what I'm saying.
Mhm,
They are literally on the street. What
mhm.
happened to those proposals?
So, with design guidelines, it's standards. We recommend that developers use those standards when they redevelop something. I mean, I don't believe there was any type of redevelopment on that, the location you just pointed.
I
So
brought
there
it up.
hasn't been opportunity for them to apply those design guidelines on it.
No, I brought it up, and that is not the developer's role. That's actually on Baltimore County and Maryland Highway property.
Yes, so
Turnpike.
the guidelines only apply to the property in the shopping centers and not really the sidewalks or the street.
So the facade doesn't include all that area.
The facade does. I mean, facade of the properties in the shopping centers, yes. I mean,
Okay.
signage, if it's a pylon signage, in front, yes, they will have to go by the guidelines. Signage, lighting, tenants light signage, facade improvements. I mean, even there were some
We're talking about
recommendations, if I recall, about streetscaping. I mean,
yes, and arts
like
and art pieces.
benches,
Mm-hmm.
trash cans,
Mm-hmm.
public arts and all that. Yes. No, it's been adopted and the department makes sure that it's being used, it's being followed. Is it?
Nay,
Yes.
if the legislation is approved that you're speaking of, would that mean that a business owner on Liberty Road will be able to apply to the county to make a facade improvement to their business? Or would
So
they have to be in one of the shopping centers?
I believe it's for the whole Liberty Road, but we have Amy Menzer here who's actually managing that grant
Mhm.
and that project. So she's best to answer that question.
Yeah, that's why I say we're still working out the details of how we're going to roll it out, because the way we proposed it to the state is that we would prioritize seeking, prioritize incentivizing several of the shopping centers to make improvements to kind of the whole center. And we said that because we think that would create a more visible impact as you're driving down the corridor. But certainly the hope is that individual businesses will be able to use the funding, but Liberty Road is a very long corridor. And so I think some of the hope is to sort of concentrate the impact. So that's part of what we're working out, is how, will the entire corridor be eligible for the funding all at once? Will we do a phased rollout where we're targeting some specific shopping centers initially? Those are the kinds of details we're trying to work out. And the state, we're also wanting to coordinate it with the Greater Randallstown Community Development Organization, and they are right now in the process of hiring someone. So, I expect we'll be rolling out more about the facade program over the summer once, the GRCDO staff person is in place and we've had a chance to coordinate with them. And the other challenge is that, or a challenge is that, the state, when they initially announced the program, they only wanted the money to go on the physical front of a building. So I know that Liberty Road, if you think about Annapolis, if you're looking at Annapolis, looking at the fronts of buildings makes sense. The front of the building is right up against the sidewalk in the street. Obviously, in a more suburban context, such as we have in Baltimore County and along Liberty Road, it's different. And so really, we do want to be able to address signage that's in the parking lot. I know there have been concerns about some parking lots. The state really doesn't want to have their money used for parking lot paving. They want it to be used to improve buildings. Okay, so those are some of the details that we're trying to work out before we announce something. So
Linda, and then after Linda, I'll go to Danny.
Yeah, but one of the things that we talked about, for example, we changed our name to the Liberty Road Gateway Communities, and we said on the lower end of Liberty Road, we would start down at Liberty and Northern Parkway by, you mentioned Annapolis. When I go to Annapolis, I go down to Road Boulevard, it has pillars, a stone wall on both sides, now entering historic Annapolis. Okay. And it looks like a gateway. It's on both sides. And so what I'm saying is we had talked about doing that, putting up some sort of signage that would be made of stone or brick or something, now entering the gateway communities of, and we would list the like 9 or 10 gateway communities that you're about to enter as you go up 9 miles of Liberty Road.
I think that that's a fine idea. And I think that's not what this commercial facade improvement program is for. Like, there are other grant funding sources that will be available for that kind of a project. In fact, the planning department has an existing grant program that's available right now that could be pursued for that.
How do we access it right now? How do
Well,
we access it right now?
It's on the county planning department's website. There's a page called Grant Opportunities, and it's called the Community Improvement Grant. And those funds can be used for gateway signage. There was a round that just closed on Tuesday, but for larger projects that are over $15,000, it's a rolling deadline. So
some of the requirements, I think you have to be a 501c3, 501c4, 501c6. So just saying that a group like Liberty Road Gateways Committee not having a nonprofit status will not be able to apply for that funding.
Right. But any of the community associations that are on the lower end of Liberty Road, they could apply to have.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And there was notification sent out to all of those associations about this opportunity and the deadline for the application. So it's
Okay.
I believe the communication went out, and it was
Yes,
posted
the communication
on
went
social
out.
media
So,
and everywhere. Yeah.
so any of the lower end of Liberty Road communities could apply for it, right? Even though it would probably be more than $15,000 to do.
Well, I don't know what the project cost would be.
You're saying that our opportunity to do a project for under 15,000 just ended 2 days ago, and they're not going to be flexible about it, correct?
Correct.
So we would have to spend $15,001 to put in a proposal now, correct?
you would.
That's-
I know that there are also discussions about an overall branding process for the corridor.
Oh, yeah.
And so maybe
Right. It wouldn't just be for that one sign. We had talked about having now entering the gateway communities of, and you list, Villanova, Woodmore, Milford, whatever. And then as you go up, there'd be a smaller pillar of some sort or signage that would say historic Milford Mill, historic Villanova, historic whatever. And so collectively, certainly that's going to be more than $15,000, correct?
Yeah, and I know that there are conversations within the Greater Randallstown. It's in the Greater Randallstown CDO's strategic plan to pursue a branding process and then implement signage like that. So I don't think that just because there was a deadline that ended Tuesday that this is going to be forgotten. I think it's a very obvious thing to do on the corridor, and so I'm confident that it's going to be we're going to be talking about this for a while to come, because I think it's important.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Danny?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'm concerned with Liberty Road as we all are. Lived here for 27 years, and just, just want to have some kind of a continuity with the businesses and the community and with government, with these programs that are, and these grants that are being proposed that are out there to do enhancements and so forth. I do understand that as my community, I live in Hernwood Heights, I'm the president of Hernwood Heights, and we've had grants where we did our pillars and things of that nature. And those are like individual communities, associations, which I think all the communities should apply for, and to update their interest pillars to the community if they haven't. But going up and down Liberty Road for all these years, decades, to be clear, and seeing how things are today, what is it that we're doing to have those businesses buy into, really putting forth an effort to cleaning up their establishments. It's just bad when you go up and down Liberty Road. I think it's a great thing to be doing these bigger projects in the shopping centers and so forth. But these other businesses on Liberty Road, are you guys communicating with them and holding them accountable, or trying to work with them to try to do some kind of upgrades, beautification? I know they have to apply, and I know it's a grant, I know they have to buy in, but is there any kind of standard, or is there anything that we can do to hold them accountable for their businesses, and when it's snowing, cleaning off the sidewalk? I mean, what is it that the county is doing to make them actually have to buy into all of this that we're trying to move forward and to make things better in our quarter?
Do you want to take that, Amy?
I can try. So you all were having an earlier conversation about code enforcement issues, and I think that that's part of it. Okay, and you already discussed meeting with code enforcement and some strategies there. Before Daphne left, she and I drove up and down the corridor, taking notes and taking pictures of all the sort of commercial signage clutter that is on the corridor. And there'll be like a shopping center that'll have a sort of standard shopping center pylon sign with multiple businesses on the sign. But then what happens over time is one of the businesses closes, and then somebody might have slapped a banner on top of that part of the pylon. So that looks bad.
Right.
Right. And then there'll be another sign that preceded the pylon sign that's just sort of randomly still there. It's some metal rusted thing that may or may not be accurate, but is still there because nobody has forced the property owner to take that down. And then there's a new sign that could be made out of plywood that somebody is stuck in the ground near the road that's announcing a new business that's come in, that maybe it doesn't even fit on the pylon, but it's in the shopping center. And so whether the property owner has agreed that that sign can be there, or the business is just stuck it there and nobody's enforcing taking it down. So there's a whole bunch of issues there that we could just, and I know that this isn't new to any of you, but we're trying to look at those issues in preparation for getting that facade improvement grant, and trying to understand kind of what are the tools that we need to address all of that. And the facade improvement grant is not going to address all of those things, but one of the things we wanted to make sure when we roll this out, that if you get grant money, you are signing something saying that you are agreeing to take down all the unauthorized and non-compliant crap that's on your property. Okay. So part of the incentive of you get the money to do something nice, but you also must comply. So then we, at least in the investigation that Daphne had started, some of it will come down to code enforcement. There may be a need for some other legislation. So that's something that we need to pick back up on, to follow up. I don't know exactly how far Daphne got with all of the pieces of looking at that, but I'll shut up now, but I'm just trying to
Yeah,
say that we do get it. It's a complicated situation.
yeah, it is. It's very complicated and it's very frustrating, you know, when we talk to our neighbors and they come back to us as community association presidents and so forth. You know, we want to be able to have answers for them, and that's why, of course, we all come to these meetings and we call often to you guys. But we must have a firmer hand on these businesses on the corridor, whether it's legislation or whatever it is. I'm an elected official. I know legislation needs to be changed. I know that the stuff that we've done in the past hasn't worked. And we need to really be serious about this and hold these folks accountable. If you want to be on Liberty Road, this is what these are the requirements that you must have. I mean, you look at these other communities, you look at Towson, you look at Catonsville, you look at all these other communities that are in place that have got it. You got to get it. You got to understand what you got going on there, and you got to buy in. You can't just be there like on a weekend. You got to buy into this. This is for real. This is our community. And, you know, I'm just going to leave it at that. But I'm going to let you know I'm very passionate about it. And I think we all need to really be serious about this and really hold these businesses accountable.
Thanks, Danny. Sheila?
I have a question. Amy, you said the grant was you were going to focus on the shopping centers. And is there a way to also include the small businesses? Because, for example, I know the Milford Shopping Center, they recently, in the past couple of months, repainted all of their businesses. And that's a shopping center. They have money to do it. But along Liberty Road, there are also independent small businesses. And those I find are a little bit, have more wear and tear than the shopping centers. Like
No.
the reports from the Woodmore Shopping Center that I think there's a physical therapy place, and I'm like, can you paint? I mean, if they say, well, we're a small business, we don't have money to paint that, okay, can you use a grant to paint that? And then
Yeah.
you got the wine and spirit shop right next to it, which is if they had a grant to say get you a much more attractive facade, would they say, okay, we'll do it? And then there's a tire place across from where the old Giant was. And it's like, okay, if you had a grant that we can get you a better facade, would you use it? I mean, because some of those places look,
I hear you. So yeah, so some of what, and Yolanda and I, we should probably do some of what Daphne and I were doing to sort of help flesh out what it could look like for the program. And we'll get to that soon, but it's like the state won't let you do an improvement to a liquor store. So, and that's like state law. That's something that, but if, you know, there's $500,000 that the county executive has put in the budget for Liberty Road commercial improvements, we can marry those two pots of money and sort of use the state pot where we can use that pot, use the county pot where we're unable to use this, you know, so that it can be as flexible as it needs to be to address the circumstances that we're facing on Liberty Road.
yeah,
So
my just concern is that it's focusing on the shopping centers is good, but the small independent businesses, they probably have less money available to do that, and to reach out to them to say, if we give you money to improve your facade, what would you do? Would you have new signage? Would you paint? If given that this is a grant, and we do now have architectural standards that were for the shopping centers, to even propose, here are some standards that we are proposing that you apply to your business. Like I said, it's the small businesses that really that
I
really,
hear you.
yeah, make it kind of
I
rough.
hear you, and I think we're going to talk based in part on what you're saying here. And like I said, the initial approach that was proposed in the grant application is not how we have to do it. So I think we can look at it again and work that through.
I think this is such a passionate topic that we may need to set up another time just to discuss that. I know I have a,
I agree.
I
I
have,
agree. I think
Yeah,
that would be
I
great.
agree, because I think
yeah.
pretty
That
much
would be really
everyone is
helpful.
saying the exact same thing, just saying it differently, but you're heard and we're gonna work on it.
Yeah, so I have a packed agenda. Devon, I'll go to you, but then after that, I have to move on.
Oh, I was just gonna add on. I just didn't know what if they get a license, can we stop them from being renewed? You know, for some of these businesses, as if they're not, you know, being up to par on things, then just take away their license. And of course, that'll freak them out. And maybe that will behoove them to do whatever it is that they're supposed to do.
Shirley, you might know something about that.
As long as the people, when it comes to their business, a business license is issued if they are selling, let's say, they are issued a business license, and as long as they are renewing that license, there's no way you can stop them. I mean, you can't say, the only thing that really stops them from renewing their license is if they're not paying their taxes. That's the only thing that really stops them from having their licenses renewed. So as long as they are paying their taxes, you cannot stop them from renewing their license.
Okay,
So who do they report to? I mean, who is responsible?
What do you mean,
You
who's
know,
responsible?
who's responsible for them? I mean,
You mean
like
the
who?
licenses?
Yeah, is it the Congress people, like Julian Jones or something that
No,
that
Baltimore
who?
County government, there's,
Okay,
Baltimore County government issues the licenses and the state issues licenses. Both of
okay.
those.
all right, okay. To be
Thanks.
continued. So I have two more updates that are not. I didn't include that on your agenda, but I want to quickly talk about it. So one is the Owings Mills circulator. I'm sure that you guys have seen it in the news, and I just wanted to quickly give you an update on that. So the feasibility study was complete, and now DPWT wants to submit an application to fund the circulator for Owings Mills. So the application is actually due this Friday. There is a survey going on right now that I think we shared with most of the community members in D4. And we just wanted you, if you have time, it's a quick survey. I think there are like 5 or 6 questions in there. They're just trying to strengthen their application, get support from the community, that this is something that is needed in Owings Mills, but also in Randallstown. So if you didn't receive the survey, I'm going to put it back again in the chat. If you could take like a minute to just submit your answers, if possible tonight or tomorrow morning, because they have to submit on Friday, it would be very helpful.
It's a two question and 1 comment on it. Make sure that when you make your comment, you state that you want to make sure that your community has advantages of getting the circulator, not just in Owings Mills, but in Randallstown as well.
Thank you, Shirley. And I did put the link in the chat. And then the other update is the Milford Mill Shopping Center. As you know, there is a Royal Farm coming into that shopping center, and also a grocery outlet to replace the Giant that is there right now. And as part of the development, there is a requirement for the developer to actually add public art on the in the shopping center, but also some type of gateway signage. So with the groundbreaking coming up really soon, I don't know the exact date, but it could be within the next month. The developer wanted to put together a group, stakeholders that will be helping with input on the design. design of the gateway signage, but also design of what that public art should look like. We have already identified the stakeholders. It's a small group that the developer will be working with. The stakeholders are principally, around the site. So if you're a community association that is around the site, you were selected. There will be input from the broader community later on. Once we have selected, we have some final selection. It will be out to the broad community to vote on the best selection and what should be there. So the community will have some type of input in the public art, but for now, it's just limited to key stakeholders around the site. I just wanted to let you know, the kickoff meeting for that is next Wednesday, May 1st, and I believe it will take about a year, to get construction for both the Royal Farm, but also for this public art and the community signage that we're talking about. Any question?
Do you know what other businesses are going to be there besides those two?
I am not aware of that yet. I just know about the Royal Farm and the grocery outlet.
Okay.
Linda? You are muted, I think.
Yeah, I'm just looking at my screen. I was on mute, not because I put myself on mute. But
I may have put you on mute, and I apologize because there was some background noise.
there was no background noise behind me.
Oh, I apologize. I put someone on mute. It's me.
Yes, but it wasn't me. I'm trying to figure out why some of us are allowed to stay off mute. I'm not just talking about the staff. I'm talking about some of the people at this meeting. Why are some people allowed to stay off mute, and why are you putting some other people on mute? That's not right. We should not have second-class citizenry on this committee. Either every committee member should be off mute or everybody on mute. But it shouldn't be some are more privileged and never get to have to be on mute. I think that's very unfair. What I was asking Amy was, since she said that she had developed a list along with Daphne of the various signs that were messed up, could you share that list with us in case we have additional signs that when you approach the shopping centers or small businesses, you can say, even though it may have passed you by, because if you're running your business, maybe you didn't notice that somebody stuck an odd sign half a block away from you. Maybe you weren't really aware of it. Can you let us know what it is? And maybe we've noticed some signs that we can ask you to please add to that list.
So we were not exactly making a list of every single sign. What we were doing was preparing notes of observations we were making to help us prepare to write the grant application. And I was driving and Daphne was taking notes. So I'm not sure. I don't recall exactly what her notes looked like, but I don't think it's a list that I would feel comfortable sharing because I don't know how thorough or accurate, and I don't want to share something where we missed 5 businesses, but only got noted 3, and then it looks like we're unfairly targeting. And, we were using it to make observations of things that were sticking out to us. So I'm not trying to, I don't want to share something that looks unfair.
But can we do what we did relative to the trash cans and the benches? Have a group of us that just go up and down Liberty Road? We did that and it was successful.
I think that's something that might be worth doing. I guess what I would suggest is that when we organize another meeting to talk about sort of the facade grants and kind of the signage and visual clutter, because I feel like those issues are kind of related, that we could maybe develop an action plan, and that might be one of the things that comes out of that. But maybe can we hold that for that meeting?
Yes, please.
But thank you.
And then if you have any additional questions or comments regarding topics we have already discussed, feel free to send those to me. I really want to move on with the agenda because we have like really important topics that we need to cover in the half an hour that we have left together. Grace, I see your comments about muting. From the host, I did not mute you. Are you able to speak?
No.
Yeah, you are not muted right now, but I cannot hear you. Maybe some issues with your connection.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that Grace is, oh, Grace, now you're muted, but you weren't muted a second ago.
Yeah, and I didn't touch anything. Can you try to unmute and try again? Okay. I think it, or maybe what you could do, just log out and come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Sheila?
Oh, no, I was going to ask a question. I thought you would finish that topic. I was going to ask a question about the Walgreens.
Walgreen.
That Walgreens closed, and I didn't know if this was within the purview of the planning to be concerned about vacant spaces and um, finding new tenants and that kind of thing.
Okay, I mean, it's good information that we can relate to the Department of Economic and Workforce Development.
So that goes
and
to,
also-
so you're saying that's another department because that's another department that actually looks at, for example, look at Liberty Road, see the vacant spaces, what we're talking about where Ollie's was and the Shoppers was, and then that other place across the street from that, and now the Walgreens. So he said that's another department's responsibility to say, okay, we've got these vacant spaces, these that they are actively involved or doing something to try to get those spaces filled.
Yes, I believe they do have some programs or strategies for retaining, attracting businesses. So that's usually with the Department of Economic and Workforce Development. We unfortunately do not have a business association on the ground right now, but it's also information we could relay to the Greater Randall Sound CDO. I just don't know yet what their focus are going to be, but it's just good information for us to have.
So would it be possible at some point, maybe in the future, that we can hear from that staff so we can know what they do and how they do it and let them know our concerns? Because we're communicating with you guys and y'all are interested, y'all responsive, and y'all making plans. But if they're the people responsible for getting these businesses in, perhaps we can at some point meet with them so they can hear us, tell us what they do and what they can't do, because Liberty Road needs some attention. There are a lot of vacant spaces, and it doesn't appear that no one's working on it. They might be working on it, but we don't know because we've never met with them.
Absolutely. And I think that will take me to my next topic that I want to talk about, which is the renewal of the Northwest Gateway Sustainable Community Plan. So the plan, was the primary reason why we convened this committee. When it was updated the last time, which was, I believe, in 2022, we convened the committee to oversee the implementation of the action plan. So the plan is comprehensive. It includes economic development. It includes other elements, such as environment, housing, quality of life, land use, and it's about coming up with a vision of the area and amending or updating the action plan that is currently on the shelf. So we have to renew that plan every 5 years, and it's due to the state in January of 2025. So Yolanda right now is in the process of putting together a work group because there is a requirement to work with the community in order to actually update the action plan. So I wanted to say that, but also let you know that most likely members of the Liberty Road Gateways Committee will be part of that work group just to help us identify the vision for the area for the next 5 years, but also identify goals and strategies that we can add into the plan that either the local government, like the county, or maybe community organizations would actually help implement. Any questions on that before I move on?
Can you hear me now, Young?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. To be a part of that, don't we have to submit an application by the end of the month?
To be
Or-
part of the work group?
Right.
No, not this one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Yeah, there is no application required to be part of the work group. It's composed of county, state agencies, but also you know, the local community. And we just like to make sure that it's diverse. So we look at the representation and of the community and make sure that we have representation for each of the you know, sectors in the community. So there will be businesses, schools, residents, you know, you name it, institutions, church.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. So no question, and I'm really surprised there's no questions
Well,
on this
I-
one.
I do have a question, but I didn't know how to put it because I didn't understand whether you were saying a plan has to be updated every 5 years, and if this work group is supposed to be helping to work on that, or if you're saying there's going to be a whole new different kind of rollout that we will be hearing about.
Yeah, so the sustainable community, it's a state plan. You know, that when you are in a sustainable community, you have access to you know, state resources, state grants that you can tap in order to implement those actions, you know, the action plan, implement the goals and the strategies that are listed in the action plan. So when we updated the plan 5 years ago, we convened the committee in order to implement, to oversee the implementation. We have, for example, done the design guidelines. That was a recommendation from the plan. We did the, you know, the streetscape replacement, enhancement we did on Liberty Road, like the trash cans, all of that was part of it. Creating a CDU was also a recommendation from there. So we actually have been implementing, you actually have been implementing the plan with the help of the Department of Planning, but also with the help of other agencies. You just have been, you know, letting us what your priorities are so that we can try to follow that in order to implement the plan. So because it's due for renewal right now, you know, it's a time to just go through the plan and see, you know, what makes sense to forward into the next 5 years, or if it has been accomplished, we just remove it from the plan. If it's not something that you don't want to pursue anymore, we just delete it from the plan. So that's what this renewal is going to be.
So are you saying that you want to share with us the plans for us to go through it and do what you say?
So yes, there will be some there will be a process that you will be involved in. You know, there will be survey asking whether what is in the plan right now, does it still make sense to stay in the plan? Should we delete it? Are there new priorities? So there will be a process and engagement to work within the plan together. And as you know, the Northwest Gateways is a large boundary. It includes not only Randallstown, but it also includes Pikesville and Owings Mills. So we are doing engagement with all three communities.
So are you going to have people, separate groups from each community, or is it all going to be part of this group?
Because it's one plan, we're gonna have to have one work group composed of residents from all those communities. But more details to come, and we are in the process of, you know, brainstorming and finalizing. And once we have a final plan, we'll be in touch.
Will it be the whole committee or just people from the committee because we are diverse?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know yet. Like I said, again, we are in the process of putting the details together. I mean, though it's a large, it's a large boundary. Um, we can only have one work group. We don't know if we should have, we are in the process of detailing those, do we have 3 work group within the plan? We don't know yet, but we are in the process of just brainstorming and seeing what makes sense.
Now, is the circulator bus, the loop, which I have been working on for 25 years. If you go to my Facebook page, I actually spell out how long it's been, the history of it, that the buses that were put over in Towson were initially brought to the Randallstown Library. There was a meeting that was held there. I went down to the meeting room and begged people to come up from a meeting that was being conducted by Senator Kelly. The people from MTA had the bus. It had just arrived that day. And I begged them to come up, and they were told, no, everybody stay in your seat because we don't want to give in to this because they might be trying to force us to extend the regular bus out to Kings Park. So I said at that time, if we pass up on this opportunity for this connector bus that would connect Owings Mills and Randallstown to the hospital and the subway system, this might not come again for decades, and it's been decades. I was absolutely right. And instead, the bus line got extended over a decade ago to Kings Park, and we still don't have that loop bus. So yes, if you go to my Facebook page, I give you the whole history of what went on. And I will tell you, I'm so delighted that it's about to happen now. So if there's a subcommittee of this group or a part of this group that you're talking about that's going to concentrate on the circulator bus, I've been working on it for 25 years and I'd like to be part of it.
Okay. Well, the first step is making sure that you do the survey as well. That's the first step.
Mhm.
I did do the survey and I would like to see it extended to the Northern Parkway, to the Beltway section, because that is unrepresented on that circulator.
Right. And it's going to be a free bus. Free bus.
Thank you. Sheila?
The process you're talking about for the Northwest, for the Gateway route. You said it's also for Pikesville, Ricestown Road, and Liberty Road, and those they have 2 different and diverse needs. So I don't.
So the sustainable community is Randallstown, Pikesville, and Woodlawn. I'm actually right now in the process of constructing who to call for the Randallstown area, being as though that it is a huge boundary. But I'm going to be, if anything, Randallstown is definitely going to be the most represented because of the boundary. There will be people from different neighborhoods including that's on this meeting right now, that's already on my list. There will not be no one from Woodlawn making decisions for Randallstown or someone from Randallstown making decisions for Pikesville. Everyone pretty much will be there to make suggestions and to assist, including and paying attention to their direct area, pretty much.
So this is going to be
Say it again.
focusing on Liberty Road, not necessarily the needs of Ricestown Road and Pikesville.
And
is if you're called, you will be focusing on whatever neighborhood you're in. Meaning, if you're called for the Randallstown area, whatever rights you have, whatever suggestions you have, you will be concentrating strictly for the work group for the Randallstown area. If you're called for Woodlawn, you will be only called to focus on coming up with suggestions for the Woodlawn area. You will
Okay, so-
not be interjecting into another area, so to speak. One plan, 3 small areas, but everyone will be concentrating on whatever area they're called to concentrate on.
Okay, but what I'm
Okay.
asking is Ricestown Road and Pikesville going to be included in that survey? in what you're talking about?
Yeah, so Pikesville,
Pikesville, and Ricestown Road, Pikesville will also be included, right?
so
Right.
so they
So
they
that's
have
different from
two.
what you said originally, Gone.
I'm sorry, they are,
Originally you said Owings Mills, Randallstown, Woodlawn, and so
Didn't
forth.
say Owens Mills.
See,
I didn't say
Gone
anything.
said.
Okay,
What
so
she
what I'm,
said. How are we
okay,
gonna have a connector bus that goes to and
we're
from the
not
Owings
talking
Mills?
about the connector bus. We're talking about two
all
different.
right.
two
Okay,
I
so
understand that, but it's part of
let
the
me stop
process,
this
isn't
right
it?
now, please.
Okay.
Let me stop this, and if you could please raise your hand before you speak, I will really appreciate it.
Yeah, what I'm
Right now,
what
hold
I'm
on, Yolanda,
referring
please.
to is the sustainable community, not the connector bus. I'm on a whole different topic at this point.
Okay, thanks, Yolanda. So
Mhm.
I am right now responding to Miss Sheila. So Miss Sheila, the Northwest Gateways includes 3 communities. One is Randallstown, one is Pikesville, and one is Woodlawn. So Pikesville, I don't know if you're talking about the Ricestown Main Street, because the Ricestown Main Street, they do have their own sustainable community, and they have already renewed their sustainable community. They will not be part of this renewal. The Pikesville, which is the CRD, the commercial district,
Yes.
you know, where the PRAP
Yes.
organization is right now.
Right.
They are included in this renewal.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, because I am
Now
a
back to yes. Do
I,
you have any other question?
yeah, I am a member of the PrAC,
Yes.
and that's why I knew there was different needs and interests of that part as opposed to Liberty Road. That's why I was
Exactly.
okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, the way this plan was, you know, designed, it's 3 communities with 3 different priorities within the same plan. We are in the process of seeing how can we, you know, separate all 3 communities with their priorities in one document. And that's what's really complex. Because last time when we did this, we had studies. Like, for example, Pikesville had their own studies, Liberty Road had their own studies, and Woodland also. And what we did was we incorporated the recommendations from those studies into the plan, and that's what made the renewal. And right now, we are also trying to see how can we best outline this so that we have 3 priorities, 3 vision in one document.
Thank you. Big
You're
job.
welcome. I'm gonna go to Grace and then to Linda. Yes, Grace.
Thank you for recognizing me. How come the Woodmore and the Villanova communities have been excluded? I mean, because it seems like everybody's around there, but there's a pocket that's always getting ignored.
I'm sorry, that was the Woodmore and what other community?
I think it's Villanova.
So both of those are inside the sustainable community.
Yeah, they are, and they were included in the last one, and they should be they will be included in this one.
Okay, thank you.
Linda?
All right. First, let me say, Gone, I had my hand up. It had been up for a while. Just in case you hadn't noticed it. But the reason that I raised my hand again is because I just heard you talking about Liberty Road and Ricestown Road. Owings Mills is between the 2 of them. How are you not including Owings Mills and the rest of Liberty Road going out all the way out?
So this is the way the boundary is set right now. If you want Owings Mills to be included in the state designation, there is a process for that. I mean, I didn't create the boundary. It's just a state boundary, actually. It's not even a county boundary. This is a program that is being managed actually by the state. And the county has the obligation to renew the plan every 5 years. So the boundary is already set, but there is a process if you want Owings Mills to be included. There is a process for that. And I can send you.
What's the upper end of Liberty Road that's included?
I can send you the boundary so you can see what the areas are, what areas are included in this plan. I have 10 minutes. I know Amy Menzer has to give us some updates on the CDO, and I also have to talk about the future of this group. But Linda, I get you, and I'm gonna send you the boundary for the current Northwest Gateway's state plan. All right, so I'm gonna go to Amy for CDO, for the CDO update. Amy, are you there? Okay, so maybe we'll come back to Amy, but I really wanted her to give us an update on the CDO before I talk about the future of the committee, because it's kind of like link. And she was here just a couple of seconds ago.
Oh, there she go.
Okay. Can you hear me, Amy? She looks like she's having some type of connection issues. Hey, Amy. Can you hear
Hey.
me?
Yeah. Did I have a funny face?
No, you look cute.
Yeah, I
Alright,
am
so-
having some connection issues apparently. Is it time for me to talk about this?
Yes, please.
She's stuck.
Amy, you might need to turn off your camera to speak.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I can
All
hear
right.
you.
Awesome. Sorry about that. So the Greater Randallstown Community Development Organization has really been working hard. And it is just an amazing group of people that are on the board. They have been meeting since last September. And in the span of roughly 7 months now, I don't know, they have just accomplished an incredible amount. Laurel, who was on earlier, and Shirley, who's on now, still are both on the board. They developed all of their basic organizational documents last fall, and then they filed for their 501c3 in November and got it like within 4 weeks or something. It was insane. I have never heard of a nonprofit getting IRS 501c3 designation that quickly. It was awesome. So since then, they've been engaged in a strategic planning process, and they've also submitted funding applications to the county to fund their organization. Because so far they've been, through the end of March, they were working with the Nelson Ideation Group to sort of help facilitate their sort of standing up an organization and creating that strategic plan. And now they are on their own and functioning very well, and pursuing a hiring process for their executive director that is underway. They have 2 HR professionals on the board. 2 of their officers are HR professionals, and so they have been managing the hiring process. There's a hiring committee of members of the board, and then I'm on the committee representing the county in that hiring process. And you know, I can't really say a whole lot more about that because I don't want to, you know, they're in the middle of that, but it is my hope that they will have an executive director that, you know, could possibly be starting, I would guess at this point, given where we are in April, hopefully it's somebody that can start in June. But, you know, it's going to depend on that particular individual and what their, you know, availability is as far, you know, who their current employment, et cetera. But they are in the process now of hiring. I'm excited. They're all excited. So, so that's kind of the update. You heard earlier about the facade improvement grants, and we definitely are hoping to sort of collaborate with the CDO to assist in implementing that program. Their strategic plan includes specific goals and objectives around things like the commercial corridor and working with the businesses, another section that's about sort of branding and kind of the visible appeal of the corridor. The plan itself is not in as a document that I can't release the document to you because they, as a board, they need to make that decision and figure out how they're going to make that publicly available. You know, they are working on a logo. They have started work on a website. So I expect you'll see a bunch from them in the next few months, but all of those steps are in process right now. So I don't want to, and there are things that they are deciding on how they're moving forward. They have a marketing and communications committee that's creating a marketing plan. So, so there's a lot going on, and anyway, it's a great group, and hopefully you'll be hearing more from them very soon and be able to, you know, to meet with them. And I think our hope is that kind of, you know, members of this group would become part of a committee of the CDO to, you know, help continue to explore a lot of the issues you've been talking about tonight.
Thanks, Amy, for the update. Do you have any questions for Amy before I move on? So I think that will take me right into the future of the committee. So like I said, you know, you were convened to oversee the implementation of the Northwest Gateways action plan. So that plan right now is in the process of getting renewed. So the priorities that were in the plan, the current plan, may change, you know, in the new plan. We don't know yet. And also in light of the CDO, in light of a new executive order director, we believe that the direction of this committee or like the efforts of this group should really fold into the work of the CDO. So that there is no, you know, there is no, how do I say it, like conflicting groups on the ground. And the CDO will have a paid staff. I know all of you are volunteered, who has a life after, you know, outside of these meetings. They'll have capacity to actually take on some of the projects and implement them. And then so the direction that we're heading right now is just dissolving this group and trying to see how can we use some of the members in maybe subcommittees in the CDO. Your efforts doesn't stop here. I think it's just the beginning of a new chapter. All of the priorities that have been set so far, but we have not been able to accomplish them. We can just transition them into, you know, the work that the CDO will be doing. I know we have money that has not been spent yet. That could be money also that we can transition to the CDO in order to implement some of the priorities that you have set. So that's what I wanted to tell you. There is an opportunity to meet the new executive director once he or she comes on board to discuss what is the future, you know, how can you be involved in the CDO, and how can your priorities be their priorities, and how can the money that is unspent right now be of use to them. So we don't know. Again, Amy said very shortly we should have an executive director, and then we can set up a meeting between them and you to discuss more. So I see a couple of hands up, Shirley and Sheila. Shirley first.
One of the things about the CDO, I was just, right from the beginning, I always said that my forte was the community because I've worked in the community for over 45 years. And so the CDO, although it is new and it's really Amy is right. We've done fantastic work to get this far so far. However, the work that Gateway and organizations like Gateway have done are going to help us in the future to do the things that we need to do. And we will be coming to the community and asking for their help. We can't do it by ourselves. It takes everybody. So, yes, the future of Gateway and the future of the CDO are going to be meshed together, you can bet, with the
Well
work
said,
that we
Shirley.
all have to do.
Thank you, Sheila.
I am so glad. I remember a meeting, I think I think Amy Mintz was there with someone else a couple of years ago, and there was this big grant, and you talked about some of the community associations taking it, and I'm like, the bank statements were beyond us, and I'm so glad that we finally found a solution to our problems, because the problems, the issues, they're big, and we do need a big group like the CDO. I am so glad that we have found the right path to achieve that. And I wish the CDO all the success going forward. As I mentioned, I'm on the PrAP, and you know what the PrAP is about Pikesville. That's a whole nother story. And I think they're going that way too. But thank you very much for it's been a long journey, and it's been frustrating at times. But I think we have finally got it. Thank you very, very much. Very
Thank
appreciative.
you.
And
See
thank
each other.
you, Sheila, for serving on the work group.
Yes, and thank you for the positive feedback. And I mean, on behalf of the county, on behalf of the Department of Planning, we cannot thank you enough. I mean, we appreciate your time, your commitment to the communities. We just appreciate your contribution. We appreciate everything you have done so far. And I think you know, you have just set a foundation for the CDO to keep going, right? To keep working. We have priorities. We have money that we can give to them. We just cannot thank you enough. So thank you again. So if you don't have anyone, if you do not have any questions about that, we can talk about maybe some of the project priorities that were identified so far. The remaining balance, I just wanted to tell you, is $177,000, 864. So that's what's remaining out of the $250,000 that were set aside for implementation by the gateways. And the project priorities that we were not able to get into include marquee signs. So there were conversation last meeting with Daphne about the marquee signs. And I know both Linda, I don't see Linda Keefe, I think she left, but I believe there was some plan to coordinate together and come up with a proposal, you know, that you would share with the group. Linda, do you have any update on that?
No, I didn't see it on the agenda, so I didn't do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so we also heard about mural. There was a lot of interest, you know, about having a mural on Liberty Road, something maybe similar to what Pikesville is doing right now.
Mhm.
And we also heard, let me see what else, about holiday decorations. So those three projects are what I noted from the meeting last time. If I missed anything, let me know. But we can say that these are your priorities as of today, and priorities that we can discuss with the CDO when we meet with the executive director. And in the meantime, if you know, come up with anything that we didn't mention here, feel free to email me. And we'll be in touch with a meeting with the executive director very soon. And look at that, we did it right on time. It's 8:05.
This is it.
Do you have
Yes, Linda.
do you have the contact information for grocery outlet? A different community, two different communities have reached out to me and they said they would like to have a store.
I unfortunately don't. I can check with the Department of Economic and Workforce Development if they do have it, but I personally don't have it.
So
Linda,
they,
you can call,
okay.
sorry, Linda, you can call up to the Reisterstown Road location.
Mhm.
They have the information.
All right.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you.
So this is our last meeting, correct?
Well, this is our last meeting as a Liberty Road Gateways Committee. But we're gonna be having a meeting with the new executive director when he or she comes on board to discuss the priorities and how to use the remaining of the money. And also how can the members could be folded into the work of the CDO. Whether you want to join subcommittees, we're gonna be talking about those steps and those details at that meeting.
Nice working with everyone.
Right. Thank you. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you
Thank-
so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
So much
Okay.
dedication here.
Yes.
Yes.
And commitment.
Yes.
Very learning experience.
Yes.
Very good. We'll be in touch very soon.
Yes.
All right,
Good
sounds
night.
great.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.